everybody. My name is Colleen Wilson, and I created this lesson for a group of students at School 15 in Rochester, also called the Children's School. I actually taught a similar version of this lesson during my student teaching over the summer, but for this assignment, I reworked it quite a bit and created a new activity that I think would be more interesting and exciting for the kids. So, as for my audience, I, in real life, would be teaching this lesson to a class of first graders, about 25 kids in all, in conjunction with a language arts unit. One important thing to know about School 15 is that about 50% of the student population are ESL students. So throughout my lesson, it would be important for me to keep in mind, what accommodations would need to be in place for everybody to fully understand the information. My lesson itself is entitled Siamese Cats, Fact or Fiction? And as some of you might guess, the main goal of this lesson would be helping the kids to learn to distinguish between fiction and nonfiction, namely the fiction and nonfiction books that they could find in the school library. So, without further ado, I am gonna get teaching. All right, here we go. Okay, hey everybody, welcome back to the library. I hope you all had a wonderful Halloween and ate lots and lots of candy. Yeah? Very, very good. Ms. Wilson is proud. Now, today we are going to talk about something really, really cool. I know how much you guys love the books in the library. Pikachu, I saw you jumping up and down in front of the door when it was your turn to come in. You guys know so much about the books we have here, what different series we have, what different kinds of characters are fun to read about, but there's something else that you guys might not have known yet. There are two different kinds of books in the library. Some books in our library are fiction, and some are nonfiction. Could anybody tell me what the word fiction means? Anybody? Oh, Scooby-Doo, what do you think? Very nice, very good. Fiction stories are made up. They're not true. So to write a fiction story, the author sat down and used his or her imagination to write a story that didn't actually happen in real life. In fact, some fiction stories have things in them that couldn't happen in real life. I mean, you might read a fiction story about a talking dog. Oh, I'm sorry, Scooby-Doo. I mean these little creatures that live inside Pokeballs and have all kinds of special powers. Pikachu, I'm sorry about that. Moving on. Like I said, fiction stories are stories that didn't actually happen. Some examples that I know we like already are A Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats and Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. Both very, very good books that are great examples of fiction. Now, the opposite of fiction is nonfiction. Can anybody tell me what nonfiction means? Anyone? No? That's okay. Nonfiction books tell us facts. So, even though this might be a new word for you guys, I know already that you guys love nonfiction because I've seen you checking out so many books from our nonfiction section. Our nonfiction books tell us facts about spiders and giraffes and helicopters and monster trucks, all those things that you guys are curious about. For example, a nonfiction book about butterflies would tell us where different butterflies live, how they grow, everything that we would need to know in order to understand butterflies. Nonfiction helps us to understand the world around us, whereas fiction helps us to use our imaginations. Both fiction and nonfiction are very important for us to read, but it's also very important to be able to tell the difference between the two. Now, it can be a little bit tricky at first, learning to tell the difference between fiction and nonfiction, but I know that with practice, all you guys are going to be experts. So what we're going to do now is we are going to get some practice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read us two books. One is fiction and the other is nonfiction. The fiction book is one of my favorite picture books ever. It's called Skippy John Jones, which is a made-up story, a fiction story, about a Siamese cat who believes he is a Chihuahua, which is something that, as far as anybody knows, real-life Siamese cats do not think about themselves. The other book we're going to read is a nonfiction book about Siamese cats that's just called Siamese Cats. And in that book, we'll learn what Siamese cats like to eat, how to take care of them, everything that we need to know to understand Siamese cats. And then, after we're done reading both stories, we are going to work together to make a list where we can write down the different clues that we noticed in each book that help us figure out whether it's fiction or nonfiction. But that's not the end. After that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to play a game that Ms. Wilson has created on the Invisible Smartboard, patent pending. And what we're going to do for this game is the class is going to be divided into two groups, and each group is going to carefully watch the smartboard as Ms. Wilson shows different PowerPoint slides. And the PowerPoint slides are going to have pictures and text, so words. And those pictures and words are going to be examples of either fiction or nonfiction. And both groups are going to compete to be the first one to say the right answer, whether what's on the screen is fiction or nonfiction. And whoever answers the most questions right, whichever team wins, gets to pick out a prize. Now, at the very, very, very end of class, as you guys are leaving to go back to your classroom, there is one more thing that you must do, and that is that your ticket out the door will be to tell Ms. Wilson whether the book you picked out is an example of fiction or nonfiction. And I hope that even after this lesson is over, you guys use what you've learned about fiction and nonfiction to think about the different kinds of books you like to read. When you pick up a book off the shelf, think, gee, is this something that will help me use my imagination? Or is it something that will teach me facts about something I'm interested in? Both are very, very, very cool, and I hope you will read a whole lot of fiction and nonfiction throughout your entire life. But for right now, I am going to conclude our lesson by thanking you guys for sitting so quietly. We're going to get started with our story time in just a second. But before we go, I am just going to say that I cannot wait to see what books, fiction or nonfiction, you guys pick out today, because we've got so many cool books in the library, and I know you guys are going to have a great time looking at all the different ones we have to read. Okay, so let's get started on our story time.